Welcome back to the Quantum Couch. I am your host, Dr. Ina Conboy. Have you ever wondered if there is a blueprint of how you're meant to live your life? A map that explains why you make decisions the way you do, how you connect with others, and even where you thrive your best. That's the promise of human design. Human design is often described as a modern synthesis of several ancient and scientific systems: astrology, the I Ching, Kabbalah, the chakra system, and even elements of quantum physics. Created in the late 1980s by Ra Uru Hu, it produces what's called a body graph based on your birth date, time, and location. This chart is said to reveal your unique energetic blueprint, how you move through life most authentically. How is it used? Many people turn to human design for self-understanding and personal growth. Coaches, healers, and even some therapists incorporate it as a tool to help clients align with their strengths, reduce resistance, and navigate relationships. It has become especially popular in wellness and entrepreneurial spaces, guiding career choices, leadership styles, and even parenting. But what about the science? At this point, human design is not supported by empirical research. While it borrows language from genetics and physics, the system itself is not evidence-based in the way psychiatry and neuroscience are. That said, many individuals report subjective benefits: greater clarity, confidence, and a sense of alignment, which may reflect the value of narrative frameworks in self-reflection, similar to astrology or personality tests can feel meaningful, even without scientific validation. To help us go deeper into this fascinating system, I'm joined today by Dr. Stacy Cisneros, who specializes in human design. She'll walk us through what it really is, how it's used, and why so many people find it meaningful. Dr. Stacy Cisneros is practicing wound care physician in Illinois. She is a certified level 4 human design specialist with advanced trainings in life cycle analysis and relationship and family analysis. She is also certified as an Infinity Healing Practitioner and as an Infinity Healing Level 1 trainer. She uses both of these modalities to help others achieve their goals and desires with insights to expand one's awareness. Dr. Cisneros, welcome to the Quantum Couch.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk about these modalities and how they've worked in my life and how I'm sharing them with other people.
In preparation for my conversation with you, I went to your website, infinitylevelhealings.com, and found that if I input my date, time, and place of birth, I can get a free human design chart, which is really cool. I love that you have that on your website. So I then inputted the results into ChatGPT, because why not? And so it helped me make sense of what I was actually seeing in front of me. I wasn't sure what to expect, but the results seemed to be very on board with how I perceive myself and my life's path to be. I then did a chart for my husband, I did a chart for my kids, and then spent hours reading about it all. It is absolutely amazing. Could you please tell us more detail about what human design is and what a reading looks like?
Yeah, so I wanted to first preface that, like we mentioned before, it's a synthesis of different modalities, and the whole point of the human design chart is to help us understand how we interface best with the world around us. There's so much confusion and there's so many um, just uh, challenges in our lives that we just can't seem to process or understand, and things that we take personally. And much of human design is here to help us understand who we are at our core and to help us make aligned decisions with our bodies. Lots of Western culture has really trained us to think from the neck up. We use our brains and logic to run our lives. And that works to a point, but you also have to consider what happens when that's tapped out. What happens when that part of us can't do anymore, can't perform anymore. Well, we burn out. And that's actually what happened to me. And so when I found human design, I was very burned out. I just come out of surgical residency, and I didn't have a place to really start a practice. I was just very um, disillusioned with the path I was taking. And so I really wanted some insight as to why I was healthy and I believed in what I was doing at one point, and why wasn't I able to get the energy up to go ahead and, you know, plug away just like my other colleagues were doing? Why was I physically burnt out? And upon finding human design, I understood that it wasn't that I was doing anything wrong necessarily. I just wasn't honoring my body and the way my body flowed, the way the energy in my body flowed and led me. And so, really, what I want to share with everybody, even during a one on one session, is that we're actually very brilliantly made. We're actually not broken and we're not missing anything. We just need to honor different parts of our bodies and the way our signaling within ourselves tells us to go one way versus another way. It's a great way to develop your intuition, and in that, we move through life a little bit more smoothly. One of the premises that people who study human design understand is that uh, God, Source, Spirit, the universe, whatever you call it, that is actually expressing through us in a very unique way. Each of us has a very unique expression of that divine essence. And human design helps you understand how you're unique and how you contribute to others and how you can run your life. And part of that premise is that, those unique gifts, we are successful and whole just by being our authentic selves. And the blueprint is actually the blueprint to help you return to yourselves, return to your body. So I think it's a very important message right now, because a lot of people are, um, at the end of the rope. They're very burnt out from their career. They're very successful and they're very powerful people, but at the same time, we want the full package. We want to live life a little bit more fuller than we have been. So it's been about helping other professionals realize that there's really more to us, and that our uniqueness um, is actually something very special, and that our flaws are actually strengths in disguise. So once you alchemize those, you have so much more power to move forward.
So, kind of looking at the chart, for example, I pulled up my chart that I have created using your website. Can you kind of walk us through, if someone does this reading, what do you get? Like in an astrology chart, we know that we're going to get the sun, the moon, the different planets, what zodiac sign all of these planets are aligned in. What do you get from the chart when you make it through human design, and what does it say about a person in those, if maybe not every single line, but can you kind of give us the general gestalt of what are people looking at when they get a human design reading?
So there's 4 levels of human design reading. So the first level is mainly what you find online, which is about your type. So there's 5 types, and they're basically different energy types that were categorized in, and it's really a description of how we come together to create as a group. So we have 5 energy types. We have the manifester, we have the generator, we have the manifesting generator, we have the projector, and we have the reflector. So the
Mm-hmm.
if you're a manifester type, that means you're basically an initiator and you get the ball rolling. It's kind of like the producer in a movie. If you're a generator, your job in life is basically to master your own craft. You're the alchemizers. You take ideas and inspirations and you're the doer. You're the one that brings forth the actual thing or the actual service. Manifesting generators, same thing. They're like a mix of both the manifestor and the generator. They're still a generator type, but they actually their tool is actually speed. They're here to find the quickest way, the most efficient way through a process that's possible, as well as mastering their own,
Apparently, that's me.
as well as mastering their own craft. The projector is a guide, and they don't have the energy that either the generator or the manifesting generator has. And their job is actually to look at the way people do things and to help correct them. They're like the managers of the world. And so they work a little bit differently than um, the way Western society is structured, where it's like 9 to 5. Projectors can't really do that. So they have to be very strategic about this. And this is where my story comes in, because I'm a projector, and everything
Hmm.
really changed when I understood that I was really doing things in a very inefficient way for my energy. The last,
Hmm.
so the last uh, energy type is the reflector, and they don't have any of the shapes colored in their chart, and their purpose is actually to be the barometers of the world. So they're the ones that give the feedback. So like going back to the movie analogy, you have like I said, the manifestors, like the producer, they get the ball rolling for the production. We have the generators and the manifesting generators. They are the people that actually become the actors, the stage crew, the people that kind of put together all the special effects, that kind of thing. The projectors are like the directors, so they're the ones making sure that everything looks nice and goes at the right pace, that kind of thing. And the reflectors, I see them as like the audience or the critics that give the feedback back to the
Hmm.
whole picture, and so that the whole creative process can begin again. So then the manifestor can be like, oh, okay, we'll make a sequel to this movie. So that's how we come together to create. And basically, um, since our culture has emphasized a lot of do and de-emphasized other uh, things like creativity, inspiration, and you know it the some of the energy types are kind of feeling left out if they can't perform at the level of the other energy types. So it's a different framework for many people. So that would be like a level 1 reading. You would understand like what your type is and the best way to go about making decisions that are aligned with your own body. And so the level 2 reading actually goes into what's called the centers. And each of the centers is actually representative of the 7 um, chakras of the system. And in human design, we have 9 centers. We believe that 2 of those centers have split at some point in time. And so the key thing about the centers is that, wherever you have the center colored in, the shape colored in, is where you're emitting energy consistently. And anywhere you have that's not colored in or white in your chart is where you're actually taking in energy, you're amplifying it for a little time, and then you're releasing it. So a lot of what happens is that if we have like a white shape, the energy that comes into that shape, that that center um, is amplified, and without proper awareness, we might think that that energy is ours and that we have it consistently. So um, this is where we have the idea um, that we are, we're more than what we are, right? We think that we can work endlessly and yet not have that center colored in. That's what I was doing. I didn't have that sacral center, the second square up from the bottom, colored in. So I didn't have a consistent workforce, but I did have energy when I was around other people that were working. And that's still true today. And so
Can I interrupt you just for a second, Stacey? I just want to kind of clarify for the listeners. Are we talking about, when you're talking about like white and shaded in or not shaded in, what I'm looking at, because I made this chart through your website, it's almost like this Kabbalah looking kind of chart where you have like different squares and triangles, and then there's like connections between them where like I don't know what I'm looking at, but there is a diagram basically. Is this what you're referring to? And then within those diagrams, there's like shaded things. Is this what we're talking
Yeah,
about?
what I refer to the body graph, it's the graph where it has it's 9 shapes. Everybody has the same number of shapes, and then there's different connections to each of those shapes. And those shapes are the centers. They correspond to the chakra
Hmm.
system. And wherever they're colored in is where we're most consistent. And
Hmm.
wherever is not colored in is where we're taking in energy from the world around us and it's not consistent. So that would be part of the level 2 reading. The level 2 reading also includes the profile number. So when you get your chart, there's something that's called a profile number. There's 2 numbers associated with that, 1 through 6. And that basically tells us how we best interact with the people around us, how we learn from the world around us, and what it looks like to be in flow. So I'm a 4-6. The 4 represents, one word is called the opportunist, the other one is called a stabilizer, and the 6 represents a role model. So the 4 is actually, its business is to learn from people around them and to interact with people around them and to form relationships with people around them. Like, it's very important that they have a network, because these are the people that are going to connect others to the groups that they need to be in. The role model number is all about how I best learn. So I best learn by modeling from other people, and my dominant energy is going to be that somebody or other people are going to learn from my story. And so it's incumbent upon me to be my best self, because that energy is there whether I am aware of it or not. So it's really important when you're raising children to look at their needs, their energetic needs. And so it's really important information to really understand what that flow through life looks like for you. A lot of people tend to judge themselves about, okay, well, I'm not um, outgoing, or I don't like networking, or that kind of thing. That's okay. And, there are different ways to connect with other people. And so, and in that way, whatever small steps you take, it actually ultimately leads the person to success. It leads the person to greater opportunities, to expansion. So in a coaching session, we would talk about that, if that's what they desire. A level 3 reading is about the connections between each of those shapes, and each of those connections is an archetype. I think of archetypes as symbolic for the quality of energy that they're giving and receiving. And so a lot of the connections have to do with what kinds of, and this really helps with the relationship reading, because if you have for example, in the chart you'll see that between each shape there are 2 connections. Each of those connections is called a gate. The 2 gates together is called a channel. So if the channel is, let's say you have one gate and somebody else has the other gate that connects that channel, you're probably going to be attracted to that person. So it gives a lot of insight into the dynamics between 2 people. And we can strategize as to how to approach a certain relationship, how to think about a certain relationship, how to reframe a relationship. And learning actually about human design helped me to understand that most interactions with people who were triggering me were actually not personal. They were actually just energetic. They were actually impersonal, energetic interactions I was having with the other person that really didn't have any bearing upon who I was as a person or who I was thinking myself to be. So this really freed up a lot of emotion. It freed up a lot of energy for me because I didn't have to worry about that whole dynamic going on. I didn't have to worry about it being wrong or bad. And so this gave me the freedom to actually love myself a little deeper and to see others in their wholeness, because each connection, whether it's if it's colored in, can be expressed in its high expression or its low expression. High expression being highly functional, low expression being very dysfunctional. And I can give an example if you like. Um, One of the gates off of the diamond in the middle is gate 10. Gate 10 is about self-love. So in its highest expression, it's unconditional self-love. In its neutral expression, it's acceptance of the self. And its low expression or dysfunctional expression is self-hatred. And in its repressed expression is more about hiding and more about just not being available for loving interactions with the self and others. And so when you have a conversation with somebody, you understand that this person has an issue, let's say with self-love. And so I asked myself, okay, where are they on that spectrum based on what they're saying? And so the gift of human design is to make the other person aware that if this is something that's an issue for them consistently and it's colored in on their chart, that even if they're at the level of self-hatred, that can actually be alchemized to radical self-love. And the first step is about awareness. And a lot of the transformations I see are a result of just being aware of their natural energy. So that would be a level 3 reading. A level 4 reading is actually about putting all the pieces of the chart together, and the chart actually tells a story about one's life, the dominant themes, the dominant challenges, the dominant strengths of the person who has the chart. And since the chart is based upon your birthday, there are many people that share your same journey because you were born on your birthday and other people were born on your birthday. And so it's a nice tool to understand, what your purpose is. And we look at that in the incarnation cross. And that's the 4 numbers at the top of your chart. And it's also listed in the report. Each of those incarnation crosses are a group of 4 numbers, which are 4 energies that come together, and they describe to me what kind of lens that you see the world in. It also tells me how you're being received in the world. I tell people that their energy, they don't even have to say anything. They don't have to speak anything. They don't have to do anything, but their presence in the world is still emitting these energies. And these energies are actually part of our purpose as humans to evolve consciousness and to also create and to enjoy and explore our creations. And so the fulfillment of somebody's purpose is actually them being their authentic self at their highest level of expression. And that basically guarantees somebody is going to their success.
It's amazing because there's so many crosses with what I do in psychiatry and psychotherapy, because some of the main goals I do in therapy is to try to help people not to necessarily change who they are, but to align themselves with who they are. And I often tell people, like the part where you said that you don't necessarily take things personally when someone's energy is just not jiving with yours, or there's some kind of misunderstandings, or things are not going well. And I equate it in my therapy with others as if you're a color and the other person's a color. Sometimes you combine these colors and they just do not look good together. One color may diminish the other color when it's next to it. Some colors just blend and it just doesn't look the right way. And sometimes you combine the colors and it's just right, like it looks and feels very good. And so inherently, a color is not good or bad, and but sometimes you combine these two and they just do not work. And so I think that's kind of in a similar way where you have to just accept who you are, how other people are, and not everyone is going to be just energetically and naturally driving with who you are. And that's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of the biggest gifts from human design that has given me with regard to my relationships, as I described before. And so the whole, so since I'm certified to give level 4 readings, I actually give them all together in the coaching session. So most of my coaching sessions are focused on certain issues, like if they come with financial issues or they're looking for their purpose or they are, then I look at the chart as a whole with all of those levels in consideration. And it tells me a story about what's happening to them, where they are having problems with relationships, things like that, are in their cycle of life, because everybody actually goes through different cycles. Direct the person to reach into their bodies and really pull out what they really want to do, finding that direction within them. It helps me to understand what steps they need to take in order to get unstuck. And it helps me to really look at the person and see them at their worst and also in their brilliance. So it's a beautiful tool, especially because, I'm not psychic, I can't see auras, but the chart is like the next best thing to that, because I can see the dynamics within them, and I can, it tells me actually how to best also see the dynamics they have with other people. So it's a very powerful tool. So when I have a coaching session with my clients, I figure out where they are in their journey and what their needs are, and how the chart can help me understand energetically what they need to shift in order to move forward. So if they're encountering an issue with their purpose or the way they view life, all it takes is just a few minutes of shifting their awareness, and then they understand the deeper truth of who they are and why they're doing what they're doing, and that's usually enough to um, help them understand what it is that they need to do. Other times it's about reminding somebody how they best make decisions with their body that are aligned. And this is probably the most important one for most people, just because we're trained to believe that we need to do something, or maybe we feel obligated to do something, or maybe we're proving something to people. And human design really helps you cut through all that and to help you understand who you are, that you don't need to prove anything to anybody, and that, um, you know, your experience at its core is going to be what aligns best with the world around you and yourself. So, what I mean by that is, we best serve the people around us when we're being true to who we are. And making aligned decisions helps us move in that way, in a very sustainable, energetically aligned way, so that we're not burning out, we're not overextending ourselves. And that extra energy that we used to use in serving things that don't really give back to us, that kind of energy is now available so that we can enjoy being ourselves. And it's a really powerful modality because it actually helps me um, understand how the person is interacting within themselves and with other people. So it's a very powerful, insightful tool.
Question about the chart, if I may. So there is a part of the chart that I didn't quite understand. It said design date. So under name, there's birth date, age, and then this next part was design date. So for example, my birthday is July 22nd, and it said that the design date was April 21st of the same year that I was born. What does that mean?
Yes. So we have two sets of numbers. The set on the right-hand side, which is the personality, and I usually call it the conscious body, the conscious calculation, which is that's your birthday. So the number at the very top with the sun, the little circle with the dot, that's your sun sign. That's why in astrology, like that's really important. And so that tells me how
Mm.
you're filtering the world. The other side, the other line of numbers is the design side. I call it the unconscious side. And that's actually calculated 88 astrological degrees prior to you being born. So it doesn't matter that you're born premature or post term, post dates. It's always 88 degrees prior to that moment that you came out. And so it's thought that that is actually when your spirit or higher self decided, yes, I'm going to incarnate into this body. And after 88 degrees, that's when you're actually born into the world. And so that design calculation is where all the planets were aligned 88 degrees prior to
Hmm.
you being born. Um,
That's fascinating because there's so many different spiritual lineages and religions that believe that the spirit, or whatever you want to call it, consciousness, whatever it is, does not enter the fetus right away, is that it enters somewhere like down the line, and not at the time of conception. And so it seems like this system believes the same, that the conception is not the time where you have like the being itself inside.
it's interesting because part of that is that point is where the spirit decides to incarnate. There are many instances, like you said, where you have the you know the energy of the fetus and it doesn't make it to birth. In human design, it's thought that part of that energy, that design, so it's thought that the father, before you are actually conceived, they say that up to 8 hours prior to the egg and sperm meeting, that the father's energy has brought up with it the energy of the design crystal from the earth. That's where it gets like super woo because after a sexual encounter it usually takes a couple days for the sperm and egg to fertilize. So somewhere in that time is thought when that energy is actually pulled up into the the sperm and egg union to hold half of that frequency there. And the other half of that frequency doesn't actually solidify until the 88 degrees prior to your birth. So it's a lot of woo energetics, and I don't really subscribe to all of it, but that's part of the teaching of human design, certainly.
I mean, this is not the first time I'm hearing about this. I mean, the creator, I guess, in 1980s did adopt many of kind of theories from different spiritual lineages. I did hear before that the intention of when you go to conceive, or how the sperm and the egg meet matters. The energy of the process matters somehow. And so I guess this is not too far off. But yeah, this is definitely beyond my comprehension level of different lineages. This is just interesting. So do you have an idea of why 88 degrees? What does 88 represent?
That I don't know. That was what was downloaded into Ra when he had his experience. So back in the late 80s, Robert Allen Krakauer was his name. He had an experience on the island of Ibiza where this big voice told him to write down all this information, and it's part of it was
Did you say he was in Ibiza?
he was in Ibiza, and he was
Was he on ecstasy?
he was there, and he had this 8-day long experience where this voice basically dictated all of the information of the human design system and also other information that he jotted down. And he didn't want to present this information at first because it was just way too out there. He was very left brain, he's very traditional in his thinking. He thought this was just completely mind blowing crazy. And so what happened was that he wound up throwing the manuscript away. And then later on, somebody just randomly came up to him and say, "Oh, look at this. I found this manuscript. Oh my God, this is so crazy. Who wrote this?" And he was like, "Oh my God, I wrote this." So he had to, that was when he understood that he really had to bring that to the world. The voice actually told Ra, and he changed his name to Ra Uruhu, which means the door closer. The voice told Ra that human design is for the children. So in 1989, I was a child, I was 9 years old. So it's for our generation. So it's for us to understand how we best operate in the world and how we can be true to ourselves for the next generation.
That is so interesting. Thank you for explaining that. I did not know the origins of this system. So, in your coaching sessions, based on what you and I talked outside of this podcast, you do other things in coaching aside from making a human design chart. You're also an infinity healer. Is that correct?
Yes. So so human design, I feel like, is the part where we understand ourselves. And if that understanding is still not enough to help us really shift our beliefs about ourselves, then I switch to another modality, which is called Infinity Healing. You can consider it an energy modality. And what it is that it actually gets to the subconscious beliefs to move them out so that we can make room for other more functional beliefs. And the way Infinity Healing works is that it's actually a combination of meditation, neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, and other energetic modalities. And basically, in a session, I bring you into a very relaxed state, and I really help you settle into your physical body. And within the session, I ask you questions while you're in this alpha theta um, wave in your mind. And I ask you questions about whether you like that alignment between mind, body, and spirit to help you remove certain beliefs and to help you download other beliefs. That alignment between mind, body, spirit is called infinity healing. And so during a session, we map out what exactly is either triggering you or blocking you. And I make sure to hone in on the emotions that are coming up, because a lot of times the emotions are things that we can't logic ourselves through. We can't really rationalize why we're feeling these. They're just programs. So getting into those theta waves are usually the most effective methods of removing or even bypassing a lot of that emotion, or even getting to the root of why it was triggered in the first place. So an infinity healing session really helps to really quickly shift beliefs. I actually first encountered infinity healing while I was doing my searching about what direction I should head into. And at the time, I didn't have a job. I didn't have my practice. I didn't know if I wanted to continue medicine, and I had all this medical student debt, and I just really didn't know what I was doing wrong. And so I was listening to different podcasts and telesummits, and the founder of Infinity Healing, who is Tarek Bibi, he had an interview with somebody, and he was taking everybody, the listeners, through an Infinity Healing session regarding money and abundance. And so I said, well, I have nothing to lose, so I'll just listen to this and follow along. And so I got into that state, and whenever he said, would you like an Infinity Healing for abundance? Would you like an Infinity Healing for removing fear, for making money, all these different beliefs? I said yes. And then during that meditation, I actually felt energy running through my body. It ran like down through my torso, out through my leg. And I was like, oh my God, like, what is this? Like, something happened here. Like, energy moved, and I don't know why, but something happened. After that session, and this was on replay, I was listening to this on replay, it wasn't live. After that session, I found myself, balancing my checkbook without getting uptight or agitated. I noticed myself being calmer around money. So then I, subscribed to one of his packages. Again, after the package, I did all the Infinity Healing, and I found that I really responded to this. I felt more optimism going forward with whatever I was going to do. I still didn't know what I was going to do, but eventually I said, okay, I'm going to take a one-on-one with Tarek for money. So I did a one-on-one session, and it was a nice session. And within 2 weeks, I actually came into $10,000, like out of nowhere. And I was like, whoa, what happened here? Like, he helped me facilitate something in my subconscious that not only helped me perceive my opportunities and my resources, but it also helped me to receive it. So then I understood that there was like some kind
Incredible.
of block there, right? And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it again. And so by this time, I was actually setting up my practice for wound care. And I finally had that direction because I had been doing so much energy work. And I was also doing it strategically because, I understood my human design. I knew I wasn't going to push anything. I just had to be aware of my resources. So that's how I use them for my own clinic setup. And so the second time I went to do the Infinity Healing one-on-one, it was one of his assistants. And so we did the Infinity Healing for abundance. And then within 2 weeks, uh, we got a phone call at work saying that, a doctor in a neighboring city became incapacitated because of his health. And that now one of our patients had recommended to his wife our clinic. And so now we had a lot more patients coming in. And so now I'm like having all these different patient encounters and serving a whole lot more people. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is working. And if he has a training course, I'd love to be able to know exactly what's going on the back end, because this has been life changing for me. And so Tarek actually had a training course in like he started his training courses about 10 years ago. And I took the level 1 training. I loved it. And I actually wasn't using it on clients or anything. I was just using it on myself. And I found that, because I'm using it on myself and I'm putting myself in these, theta or alpha waves, the more you do that, the more you are in tune with the state of flow. And so that really helped clear a lot of confusion. And I was able to act and do and be in a more inspired way. in a way that was more authentic to me. And then I just used the human design to confirm that this was the way that I needed to go in my life. And so I took that training, and then when he had a train the trainer course, I took that because I thought it was really important that if anyone else wanted to know about it, that I'd be able to train and help people do this for themselves. So that was the story on infinity healing and how it's like working in my life.
I love it. And then you're using it in your practice. And how can people find you and your coaching and the infinity healing and human design? Just share your wisdom with others, please.
Yes. So you can go to my website. It's www.infinitelevelhealings.com, and you can sign up for a coaching session, discount on packages, and you can get your free human design chart, all the things.
Like I did.
Yes,
It was really cool.
yes.
Are you ready for the lightning round questions?
Yes.
All right. If human design types were stuck on a deserted island, which one would survive the longest?
The one who would survive the longest would be the one who is really in tune with their splenic center. So the splenic center is it's an awareness center. It's the triangle at the furthest on the left, and at the highest version of the splenic center is actually self-actualization, which means that you took all the resources and you used them, you alchemized your fear, and now you're making moves. Okay, the most dysfunctional version of the splenic center is complete paralysis in fear, not doing anything, just staying there.
Mm.
So when I think of instinct and survival and fear, I think of the splenic center. So whoever is the most in touch with the splenic center and is able to alchemize their fears and is able to be in tune with the world around them, that's the person who will survive.
I love that answer. Totally not what I thought you're gonna. I mean, I have no idea where you're gonna go, but I was thinking you're gonna give like the manifestor or something. But no, you just went for like the detail right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. What type would likely get lost in IKEA?
So the one who's not in touch with their G center. So the G center is that diamond in the middle, and that's the center for love and direction. And it's also the center for spatial direction. So where you are in your space, you actually use this space, especially if you have it not colored in, you use it to basically diagnose the space around you. So if you're shopping for a new home, you have to make sure that you actually stand inside that home to really make sure that it resonates in here with you. And so if you don't have that sense of like, I need to be here or I need to be there, that's where that is housed. It's actually housed in gate 2, the direction. So
Okay, interesting. What one person in history you would love to do a human design chart for?
oh, yeah, that is interesting. You know, because of his manifesting abilities, I'd love to do a human design chart on Jesus, just because, like, in human design, it's thought that that 7 center chakra system, it like that the heart chakra split into the G center and the will center, and then the solar plexus center split into that splenic center and the emotional solar plexus center. In they believe that this separation occurred in the 1700s. So prior to that, we had like a different setup. We had a different design. Like we were actually 7
Huh.
chakras. So I would be really interested, even for anybody born earlier than the 1700s, to see what their connections are and what that chart looks like.
That's so interesting. All right. Well, Dr. Stacy Cisneros, it's been such a pleasure talking with you. For listeners who are not aware, we had a lot of technical difficulties getting this started. We even joked around whether the Mercury is in retrograde. So thank you very much for your patience with all of these technological hiccups. Hopefully we will make it out alive from all of this, technologically speaking. And I wish you all the best with all of your continued journey and your coaching and wherever else your journey will take you. By the way, my daughter apparently is also a projector, so I may at some point touch base with you in terms of how I can best mother her,
Certainly.
how I can best guide her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun today, despite all the technical glitches. I really look forward to connecting again.
Absolutely. Thank you for tuning in and listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share the Quantum Couch with someone you think might love this space too. If you would like to reach out, you can email me at thequantumcouch@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for The Quantum Couch. Thank you for listening. Until next time, I'm Dr. Ina Conboy. Take good care, stay curious, and keep exploring. The information in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Listening to this podcast does not create a physician-patient relationship with Dr. Ina Conboy or any guest on this podcast. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you heard on this podcast.